samasta sukino bhavantu loka samasta sukino bhavantu loka samasta sukino bhavantu.
Hello, my name is Bruce Berger, B-U-R-G-E-R, and today we're focusing on biological and cosmic resonance and entrainment. We'll be contemplating the world as music. But first, we dedicate our efforts to a vision of a springtime of humanity, where all humanity makes a leap in consciousness and realizes the unity and divinity of all life, where we cherish our Mother Earth as our own dear mother, where we share with each other as brothers and sisters. Aho Matakwiyasi, for all our relations. Hari Om Tat Sat, so be it. Let us chant the mystical syllable Om together 3 times as a way of focusing our consciousness. The mystic syllable Om is in the ancient Sanskrit language, which is a psychoactive language. It creates the states of consciousness. The language has a tremendous power to shift and focus our consciousness. So this Om is the seed. Some say it's the seed of all creation. It's the holy word, the logos, the divine word. In the beginning is the word. So let's chant it Ah at the heart, O at the throat, at the third eye. It's a way of invoking the qualities of Ah, the source, O, the field, and the dissolution. So we're doing neutral, positive, and negative. We're doing Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva Parvati. So neutral, positive, negative. O, bring your attention into our third eye 3 times. Last time together. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I'd like to invite you in an invocation of the universal life. This is the grandest expression that I know, the largest expression I know of cosmic consciousness in English. And I invite you to chant this with me, or to affirm this with me, the invocation of the universal life. So let's focus on this as a way of focusing and expanding our consciousness. I am that without boundaries, limitation, or separation. I am a universal life of indescribable energy and unlimited consciousness. The stars and the planets are the cells of my body. I'm filled with indescribable energy and unlimited consciousness. I'm willing energy from that I am. Mahavishnu, the Great Spirit. Narayana, the soul of the universe. Maha Saraswati, goddess of wisdom, essence of self. To manifest radiant health, perfect health, divine health. To manifest deep inner peace, equanimity, serenity. To manifest self-realization, illumination, liberation for all beings. May peace and justice prevail on earth. So be it. Today we're beginning with one of the fundamental legends of the Sanatana Dharma. Before I go any further, a couple of caveats. First of all, neither scientist nor sage really know what anything is. It's a great and wondrous mystery that anything is or that we are. Neither scientist nor sage really know what we're made of, what we're doing here, where we're going. And the fundamental question is this nature of consciousness, this nature of presence, this nature of awareness. And it remains a great mystery, and our contemplation of that mystery is the focus of our time together. Secondly, I'm drawing a lot of the imagery, a lot of the concepts, a lot of the understandings from this body of wisdom from ancient India, which they call the Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means older than time itself, eternal, prior to time. And Dharma means a way of living, a way of life, that if you uphold it, it will uphold you. When you're practicing Dharma, you experience the inherent sacredness of life. So Dharma isn't something to be found in a book or a set of regulations. It's something that you find in your own experience, that when you care for life with respect and caring and love and devotion, there's an experience of the sacredness in your moment-to-moment experience of your being. I also want to point out, in talking about the Sanatana Dharma, that the Sanatana Dharma, first of all, is not a philosophy. Though what we might in the West call philosophy is a part of it, it also would say it's not a religion. It's much different. It doesn't ask you to believe anything. That the Sanatana Dharma is a way of life, that as you practice these techniques, you experience a quality of life, which we might say is a sacred quality of life. So rather than asking you to believe anything, it's inviting you to practice and to turn towards your experience. Also, the Sanatana Dharma is very, very open-minded. They say there are more religions within Hinduism than outside of Hinduism, that they recognize that there are many, 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 that every one of us is profoundly unique and individual, and thus there must be many, many, many approaches to this great mystery to match our qualities. I once asked the great sage Baba Haridas, how can I know the practice that is appropriate for me? And he wrote on his chalkboard. He hasn't spoken in decades at that point in his life, and recently passed on. But he wrote on his chalkboard that you'll feel really, really good at the end of the practice. So, So we're beginning today by focusing on one of the root legends of the Sanatana Dharma. And here we're looking at a bit of diorama from Rishikesh. And in this image, we're looking at Lord Vishnu. Vishnu means to pervade. So this is our personification of the intelligence of the source that pervades everything. This is our personification of the absolute, beyond quality, unchanging, everywhere, always, eternal, forever and ever and ever. And Vishnu is lying on a bed of serpents, which we could say symbolize time, in a milky, milky ocean of eternity. So this milky ocean is the ocean of infinite, infinite possibility. So in a sense, Vishnu is this intelligence, the cognizance, the presence that allows you to be alive and cognizant right now, okay? So in terms of, so you are alive, life and consciousness are inextricably bound, and you are conscious in this moment, you are present in this moment. That presence is Vishnu, this all-pervading intelligence, the light of light, the light of consciousness, the light that is within you and equally within gazillion stars. The same light of life, of the universal life, is the same intelligence, the same light, the same cognizant, the same presence that is within you. So the image we're looking at here actually parallels quantum physics, in which we're looking at an ocean of infinite possibility, a cosmos of infinite possibility, and then consciousness chooses to realize, and presence chooses to actualize from that ocean of infinite possibility, from those paralleling universes. So here we're looking at Vishnu, who dreams. Actually, a lotus. He's dreaming, and a lotus sprouts out of his navel, and sitting on that lotus is this four-headed deity, and the name of that deity is Brahma. And Brahma means an ever-expanding breath of creativity, an ever-evolving breath of creativity. I also want to point out here, I don't want to neglect Vishnu's feminine aspect, Lakshmi, who's here equally as the creatrix, that the gods are androgynous, both male and female, that the masculine is associated with their transcendental, unchanging, and the feminine is their Shakti, their power, their manifest power, the ability to take their creation and give birth to it in the world. But in any case, Vishnu dreams of Brahma, this ever-expanding breath of life, and the first thing that Brahma conceives of is a goddess who sings the world into creation. So the foundation of this world's view is this understanding that creation is the holy word, that creation is sung into being, that all vibration is not merely scientific vibration, but all vibration exists as an expression of ultimate intelligence, that all vibration exists in a state of praise, in a chorus, an ecstatic chorus of praise. So in this understanding, in this cosmology of the Sanatana Dharma, we understand vibration as praise, vibration as song, and the world as sung into being. Now, we're going to be talking about energy and energy medicine today. And the approach to our approach to energy medicine is based on the work of Dr. Randolph Stone, who's the founder of an esoteric tradition in the West called polarity therapy. Dr. Stone was a naturopathic physician who's considered by many to be the father of energy medicine in the West. And Dr. Stone believed that energy medicine was the healing art of the future. He didn't realize the hold the medical industrial complex would have for us at this time. But he believed that with physics, understanding the world as energy, understanding the world in terms of field theory, that the healing arts could not be far behind. He likened the soul to the nucleus of the energy fields, and he taught that unless you'd transform the field's relationship to its source in that nucleus, you hadn't really done very much. And so the purpose of polarity therapy was always to bring the field into more balance, alignment, and harmony with its source, with that fulcrum of higher intelligence. Now, Dr. Stone called this core, this nucleus, the ultrasonic core. So it's really important to understand that when we're talking about energy, we're talking about sound. In the esoteric traditions of the West, whenever we talk about energy, we talk about it in terms of 5 keynotes. Whenever we talk about energy in the West, we talk about it in terms of 5 keynotes of ether, air, fire, water, and earth. These are the elemental keynotes. And that all creation, cross-culturally and transhistorically, the sciences of the ancients was based on this understanding of the 5 elemental keynotes. And whether we're talking about yang and yin, fire and water, or whether we're, and then fire and water, air is considered to be the relationship between fire and water. Air is, okay. So yang is expansion and yin is contraction. Yang would be the same as rajas and yin would be the same as tamas. And I always look at this in terms of the breath. So yang is the fiery, expanding, creative, positive breath, and yin is the lunar, cooling, contracting breath. So the fundamental principle in our model of energy has to do with working with the breath, working with the cycle of the breath. All of nature is cyclical, energy moving from a source into a field and then returning to that source. Let me see if I can throw that picture up there quickly. Yeah, so we're always talking about energy moving from a source into a field and then, oops, didn't. No. We're always talking about energy moving from a source into the field and then back to, let's see what happens. Cross-culturally and transhistorically, the science of the ancients was based on the elemental harmonics, the elemental keynotes, typically called the elements. And the 5 elements are earth, creates a boundary, and everything in creation that's solid predominates in the keynote of the earth element. The next, more subtle, is the quality of fluidity of water. And the water element is the medium for life. And water is profoundly, profoundly, profoundly pure and thus a medium for life. Within those waters of life is the keynote which we call fire, which is the working or the transformational, the active energy in that field. And that then the feedback mechanism, the intelligence, organizing intelligence in the field, we call air. And all of this takes place within a space, and we call the space ether. So ether mediates between the subtle, universal, cosmic elements and the gross material elements, which then step down into air, the intelligent feedback mechanism in the field, the nervous system in a human being. It's embodied in the parasympathetic nervous system. And it steps down into fire, the fire element, which is the transformational, the working energy in the body, for example. And everything that's red in the body resonates with the element fire and is part of that functional field, that transformational, that working field. And that takes place in the medium of water, the medium of life, against the boundary of earth, the container, the surface tension of earth. So for the wisdom and the wisdom of the ancients, all creation, all of nature is energy, and we understand this energy in terms of these 5 elemental harmonics, these 5 keynotes of ether, air, fire, water, and earth. Now, when we start to talk about the elements, it's important to look at the work of Edwin D. Babbitt. Babbitt was a 19th century scholar, and Babbitt had micro-clairvoyant gifts, and Babbitt could directly see and directly experience a molecular and atomic level. So with his micro-clairvoyant gifts, he witnessed the fundamental forces of creation and gave us this image which we call Babbitt's atom. And Babbitt is the father of color therapy. In the 1850s, his book demonstrates the harmonic laws of the universe, etheric atomic philosophy of force, chromochemistry, color therapy, chromotherapeutics, and the general principles of the finer forces, together with numerous discoveries and practical applications, published in 1878. So the thing you see that Babbitt witnessed on a micro-clairvoyant level, the dynamic, the field of atoms. So what we're looking here, again, all the lines, he says, are spirals, spirals within spirals within spirals of vibrating fields. And here as he looks at the negative torrent just sucking in the vortex from the field above it, and the positive torrent just radiating that field outward. So in a number of books, he outlined the dynamics. He outlined the dynamics of how these atoms align, the negative to the positive, and how the fields vibrated as they align themselves here conversely, and the layers, the transverse lines, the diagonals, and how the fields literally plugged into each other, Legos, male to female, and then in a polarized opposite there in the next field. Let's see if I can do any of those. No, I can't really spin that around. And for our purposes, so here we're looking at Babbitt's atom in his book. The image is in color, and we've done our best to reproduce that color image. Now, my copy was quite faded, literally, 1878, 1978, being well over 100 years old. But if you've watched some of my other talks, or listened to some of my other talks, you've seen that we understand the body as a musical instrument, and we understand that musical instruments have always been made out of guts and hide, and that the body is a musical instrument that is played by the breath, and that as we breathe on an atomic and molecular level, the body cycles through the tissue lengthens and changes its pitch and changes its attunement. So first, as we start to breathe in on a molecular level, all of the molecular fields begin to lengthen it with that breathing in, and with the ultrasonic resonance of the breath. Again, there's only one breath in creation. There's only this one breath of life, and this life is breathing the great mystery of life and consciousness into you in this moment. Again, one of the things I always try to emphasize if you go to the ocean, and you put your hand in that ocean and you take one drop of that water, all of the qualities, all of the forces, all of the powers in that mighty ocean are there in the microcosm of that drop. And it's exactly the same way that you are a drop of this infinite, infinite, mysterious ocean of life. And all of the qualities, all of the powers, all of the forces, all of the potential of this gift of life are here in the microcosm of your life. And again, we live in an infinite, infinite ocean of consciousness. And all of the qualities, all of the powers, all of the forces of that ocean of consciousness are in the microcosm of the consciousness within you. So the process of breathing is a process of natural and cosmic attunement. One of the things that we understand is that energy is sound. Again, we began by saying the world is sung into being, and that all vibration exists in a state of song, and that the elements are keynotes of resonance. It's important to understand that the medium of the ether element is sound. So whenever we're talking about energy, or we're talking about an etheric field, or your etheric body, your subtle body, your energy body, we're talking about an ultrasonic body that our senses tune into, and it appears solid to our senses, but it's vibrating ultrasonically. So again, this incredible breath of life, this incredible, mysterious, miraculous breath of life breathes life into us. And first, as we breathe in, the tissue on a molecular level entrains with the breath of life, and comes and just moves into a keynote where it entrains with what we call the step down from the soul, from the ultrasonic force that's carried on the breath, into what we call sattva guna. Guna is quality, sattva is vortex. And that is air predominant. And the keynote of air it resonates with the nervous system, with the parasympathetic nervous system, and the profound state of well-being that comes when we're attuned with the parasympathetic nervous system. Then, as we continue to breathe in through inspiration, respiration, spiritus, the Latin word spiritus for breath, is the same root as our word spiral. That inspiration, what happens to this mortal coil in a process of inspiration? So as the tissue balloons out, the field entrains with the fire element. And the fire element has its nucleus in our sun. And everything on earth grows towards the sun and is entrained with the sun, because the sun is the yang, the fiery, the positive, the passionate, the warming, the joyous, the creative energy in this field. So as the breath expands, the tissue entrains with the soul, the solar force, the rajasic, the fiery, the yang, ultrasonic resonance of the sun. Then as the diaphragm descends, we attune with the keynote earth, where the molecules entrain with a balance of the forces above and below, solar and lunar, and the forces within and without, earth, the boundary, and ether, the ultrasonic core. So there's a still point of entrainment with what we call the earth element in the cycle of the breath. And then as the diaphragm descends, the fields of our body move into a lunar, a cleansing, a tamasic, releasing, dynamic, predominance. All 5 elements are here in every field, but one predominates to give the field its quality and allow it to take on that function in creation. So now we're at the level of water, and again, water is the cleansing, and water is also the crystallization of consciousness into form. That water rules the pelvis and reproductive organs. Water rules the feminine. Water rules the last 6 months. Earth and water rule the last 6 months of the year. Now, it's important to, let me see if I go back here, to realize that what we're talking about is spiritus, that we're always talking about the one life, the one breath, and we're talking about the breath in terms of 2 ultrasonic fields, that we're talking about the breath as the carrier of the music of life, of the music of creation, of the ultrasonic resonance of the keynotes of life. And it's important to, so here we're showing the breath as having fields within fields, fields within fields, fields within fields, the energy spiraling from atoms to molecules to cells, through organs, through organisms, through the proportional harmonics of the atmosphere, the breath of the earth, and out into the solar winds and out into the cosmos. We're talking about one breath on an atomic and molecular level, and the same breath in the solar winds. Now here, just an example of that. Okay, if we go to this image here, in this here image here, you're seeing the same proportional harmonics in a chamber nautilus as you see in the average distance of the planets around the sun. So that, oh, here we go. There we go. This is called Bode's law in astronomy. And so here we're looking at the breath of Brahma as the rhythms of the breath. Again, form is an expression of the underlying energy field, and you're seeing the rhythms of the life breath of a living universe in the waters and in the energy field that underlies this chamber nautilus. And you're seeing the same proportional harmonics in the average distance of the planets from the sun. That the planets are cycling within the solar winds, and these same solar winds drive the winds on Earth and drive the waters of the ocean, which are waving following the same golden ratio spiral, which is the mathematics of the breath of Brahma, which is the mathematics of the breath of life. And this ubiquity of the golden ratio spiral, the tendency to approximate the golden ratio spiral in nature, is pointing to the unity of all life, and as an expression of the golden ratio, the mathematics of the breath of life. Now we're talking about energy as an expression of the golden ratio, and we've been looking at Babbitt's atom, and we've been looking at Babbitt's atom, and now we're going to look at how the field resonates from the nucleus to create what is called a Grail cup. How all of the energy, all of the subtle body, all of the subtle energy in nature and the cosmos is a unity which is, again, an expression of the breath of Brahma, the breath of life, and follows the golden ratio spiral. So here we're following this golden ratio spiral and seeing how it creates a field of energy and how that field of energy creates a cup, and we're looking at the harmony of that cup and its nature as being infinitely recursive. So here we're looking at the golden ratio spiral. It's a spiral that you can see in the pattern of your ear. We're looking at it sideways. In a moment, well, okay, it's a pattern you'll see in the curl of your hair, or curl of an elephant's tusk. There's a ubiquity to the golden ratio spiral in nature. So as we turn this golden ratio spiral, we're going to next look at it from 4 dimensions, from front, top, side, and bottom. Okay. Now, we're going to look at the way that golden ratio, the radiance of the rays of the golden ratio spiral emanating from the nucleus creates a field. And the beauty of this field is it's infinitely recursive, that the atoms slide into the molecules, slide into the cells, slide into the rhythms of the breath, slide into the ultrasonic rhythms of the proportional harmonics of the breath of the earth, slide into the cosmic waters of the solar winds, and out into the cosmos. It's really, okay. So here we're looking at what we can esoterically call the Grail Cup, the way the breath and the golden ratio proportion, the golden ratio harmonics that all energy fields dance in, that all energy fields move in, creates the Grail Cup, the vehicle for life. Then all life is entrained with the breath of Brahma. All energy fields are entrained with this Grail Cup. Thank you, the brilliant Dan Winters, for this imagery. So here we're again trying to look at the breath and realizing that the dynamics of, now please understand, all these images are just fingers pointing to the moon. The reality of this is much more psychedelic, really approximating the kind of things that you see in Robert Gray's psychedelic art, or that many of you have seen with your ayahuasca or mushroom or LSD trips. But in any case, these are fingers pointing at the moon, and these are illustrations attempting to capture particular elements of the dynamic of energy fields. So here we're looking at the breath of life, and one of the most profound things about the breath of life, this ultrasonic breath of life, is it has essentially 3 fundamental keynotes of cosmic attunement: neutral, positive, and negative. The neutral is called sattva guna. Sat means being, and so in every cycle there is an entrainment with the source, with being, which we call sattva, truth, Father, the source, the force of equilibrium in nature. Then in every cycle as the breath, so there's a still point in every cycle, every natural cycle. We celebrate it in the summer solstice. Solstice means to stand still, and the winter solstice means literally the planet stands still in its oscillation for an instant, then entrains with the source, and that's why these times are so sacred, and times in which we celebrate that moment and really seek and they potentize our prayers and potentize our devotion. So again, we're talking about the solstice, the still point in the universal life breath. So sattva guna is the force of equilibrium. It's a still point in the cycle. And then rajas guna, as the field spirals towards the heavens, it entrains with the solar radiance of rajas guna and the ultrasonic radiance of rajas guna. And it entrains with fire, personal power, creativity, joy, vitality, passion, warmth, excitement. And then as the field dances, it dances through an attunement then with the earth herself, a lunar. The earth is very dense, so the attunement is earth water, is a lunar attunement to that which sustains, which is cooling and contracting, where consciousness crystallizes into form. Consciousness crystallizes into life fields. Consciousness crystallizes into the boundaries and structures of the earth. So every cycle is neutral, positive, and negative. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, source, solar, and lunar. Now, the thing to look at in this illustration is we're looking at fields within fields within fields within fields within fields, from atoms to molecules to cells to organic processes to organs to all of the feedback mechanisms of life, all of the feedback mechanisms of physiology or natural processes. So they're all cyclical. All chemical and all biological processes are cyclical. Life reproduces following the cycles of the moon, which again rules tamas guna. But the beauty of this is, if we look at the illustration on top, from moment to moment, each field spirals up into solar, and then the next moment, the waves radiating through it are thrown down into lunar, and the next moment they're thrown up into solar, and the next moment down into lunar. And that each field is becoming its opposite in every cycle, and the two fields again are sonic, are ultrasonic, and at each point where sattva and rajas intersect, where rajas and tamas intersect, there is a still point and a connection to being, a connection to the source. So the system is set up so it self-corrects in every cycle. So this is the omnipresence. And this is the omnipresence of the divine perfection. This is why the cosmos and nature are so profoundly harmonious that an astronomer can predict an eclipse down to the second that's hundreds or thousands of years away, or dozens, if that's a little more measurable to you. Or that we can, talk about atomic weights or just any natural process with profound precision, because in every cycle, in every spiral of every level, from atom to molecule to cell to cosmos, there's a still point of self-correction and attunement to the source in this tuniverse as the music of creation spirals between rajas and tamas. Rajas, fire; tamas, water, in the spiral dance of life. In polarity therapy, we work with the body as a field of energy, and we work with sattva guna, which is steps down into what we call the air principle and rules the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the feedback mechanism throughout the body as a field of energy. Again, and this rules what we call the transverse currents, which flow on the surface of the body from east to west. And again, on every level of microcosm and macrocosm, when the body and cosmos are that feedback mechanism. We've said that energy is a self-organizing field, that every atom, every molecule, every cell is made of wholeness and is a self-organizing field. And we're talking about the omnipresence of the breath and the omnipresence of this intelligence. Again, if you've watched and listened to some of my earlier talks, we've come to understand that the stuff of creation is intelligence, that every atom, every molecule, every cell is a cybernetic mechanism, a feedback loop that takes in its experience of its environment, self-corrects in the next cycle of its homeostasis. And this is our definition of intelligence, this recursiveness that we saw in that Grail cup. The recursiveness that defines every atom and molecule and cell and organic process is our definition of intelligence. So this intelligence is embodied in the air principle and in the parasympathetic nervous system and in the feedback mechanisms that allow the body as a field of energy to maintain its homeostasis. The second principle we work with is the fire principle, which radiates from the solar plexus, a place where the breath of heaven and the fire of the earth, the fire of the earth entrain for vitality, for joy, for personal power. And this is again the solar plexus, a fount of vitality that begins in Dantian, couple finger widths below the navel, radiates up into the solar plexus, down in the pelvis, and radiates vitality through the body. These are spiral currents which define the body from within to without, spiraling vitality, personal power. All the red tissue in the body is fire predominant, functional, vital, working, resonating with Rajas guna. Again, Rajas, yang, an ultrasonic current, the universal life field. The third field that we work with in polarity therapy is the water principle, and water is again the precipitation of consciousness into form. And here we're looking at the body as a microcosm of the process of creation, what I call the theomorphic model. Again, you are the product of ultimate intelligence, and your beloved, your dearest, dearest, dearest mother, father, creator gave herself to this creation. You're the product of ultimate wisdom, of ultimate love, so that you personify the process of creation. So universal creative energy, we live in this ocean of prakriti, of nature, of universal creative energy. It steps down at the third eye, and again, you personify the process of creation. At the third eye, this prakriti steps down and then radiates up into the two lobes of the brain, which are your personification of the mental plane. And then that steps down to the throat chakra, which is the nucleus of your etheric body. It mediates between the cosmic, subtle, universal elements without and the gross material elements within. And then the energy steps down to the heart, the desires and aversions, which are at the heart of what moves us in life. Then to fire, personal power, creativity, water, where we give birth, we embody, and earth, where we let go onto the earth. That you personify the seven heavens, the seven planes, the seven steps, the seven planes of consciousness, of manifestation, of energy, universal creative energy, moving to the mental plane. The third, moving from universal energy into the personal energy, that seed of creation, that idea, that inspiration, at the two lobes of the brain. Then it steps down into the more material, etheric expression at the throat, the nucleus of our energy body, which is mediating between the subtle universal harmonics without and the gross material harmonics within, to maintain homeostasis in the body as a field of energy. Then to the heart, air predominant, the desires and aversions that move us, that air is movement, and these are the desires and aversions which are the heart of what is moving us in our life. Then fire, the working, the transformational energy in the body. And then we embody that at water, at the water chakra, where we give birth to our moment-to-moment expression of who we are. And earth, we release that onto the earth. So your body, you are made in the image of the Creator. You are made in the image of the Creatrix. You are the process, you are the product of ultimate intelligence, love beyond comprehension by our Mother, Father, Goddess. You personify the dynamics of creation. You are the product of ultimate intelligence, a microcosm of the creative process. Well, I hope you're enjoying this exposition. It will make a little more sense here if you get a copy of my book. Here it is in Greek for those of you. Well, I know it's perhaps some of you, this is all Greek to you. Okay, so maybe you want to read the Polish copy of my book. Get the Polish edition. Oh, okay, that won't help either. Well, fortunately, we can get you an English copy too that you can get on Amazon or your local bookseller as you like. It's also available in a Kindle edition. So I hope you found this talk useful. You're welcome to email any questions you have to me. And the dynamics that we're talking about here are part of a system of holistic healing called polarity therapy. And it's a hands-on system for working with the body as a field of energy. And understanding the underlying energetic dynamics of the nervous system so that you can easily and safely and consistently and facilely learn how to really efficiently and effectively release stress, release shock, release trauma from the sympathetic, from the fight or flight nervous system, and to facilitate profound states of well-being. So each January in Tiruvannamalai, India, I do an 18-day course which teaches these principles. So if you are a body worker or a therapist or a yoga teacher or a counselor, you might really, really find this deeply nourishing, and also you'll find that it will contribute a great deal to what you're doing professionally. We'll be meeting in Tiruvannamalai in South India, January 8th to 25th. I hope that you will be able to join us. I'll also be offering a course out of our home in Bembo this spring, every Thursday. If you're living in Northern California, Thursdays, 6 Thursdays in April and May. We're also talking about a course next November in at Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, in San Marcos La Laguna. So please, if there's any topics that you would like me to discuss in this format, email me, bruce@weareone.us. I thank you very much for your focus and attention. I hope you're finding this useful. We dedicate our efforts to a vision of a springtime of humanity, where all humanity makes a leap in consciousness and realizes the unity and divinity of all life, where we cherish our Mother Earth as our own dear mother and share with each other as brothers and sisters. Ahom Takuyasin for all our relations. Hari Om Tat Sat. Blessed be.